Be prepared. Tomorrow, something is about to shift that hasn't moved in over a century and a half. And I'm not talking about some minor astrological transit that affects your mood for a few days. I'm talking about a complete rewiring of the collective unconscious. A shift so massive that the last generation who experienced it witnessed the end of slavery and the beginning of the bloodiest war in American history. On January 26th at 12:40, Neptune crosses into Aries for the first time since 1861, and if that date sounds familiar, it should. That's the exact moment the American Civil War began, when Fort Sumter was fired upon, splitting a nation in two. But it was also when the impossible dream of ending human bondage became a battlefield reality. This isn't just history repeating itself. This is a 165-year cycle completing and a new one beginning. And what most people don't realize is that this energy is already here. You've probably been feeling it for weeks now. A strange restlessness, like you're standing on the edge of something you can't quite see yet. And if you've been having the same recurring dream lately, or waking up with this unshakable urge to fight for something you can't even name, keep watching. Because there's one specific reason why this is happening to you right now, and I'll explain it later. So stay tuned. But first, you need to understand why tomorrow isn't just another day on the calendar, because while everyone else is going about their normal Sunday routine, those who are spiritually attuned will feel the exact moment this shift occurs. And what comes with it, that's going to change everything. The last time this happened, the world split in two. Let me paint you a picture of what was happening the last time Neptune entered Aries. It was April 13th, 1861. The very next day, Confederate forces opened fire on Fort Sumter, and America descended into civil war. But this wasn't just any war. It was a war over an impossible dream, the dream that human beings shouldn't own other human beings. For decades, abolitionists had been fighting this battle with words, with peaceful protests, with moral arguments. They were the dreamers, the idealists, the ones who believed in something that seemed completely unrealistic given the economic and political realities of the time. Neptune energy, pure vision, pure faith, pure belief in something beyond what currently exists. But when Neptune crossed into Aries, the sign of the warrior, the sign of action, those dreams got their battle cry. Suddenly the fight wasn't theoretical anymore. It became real. It became unavoidable. And within 4 years, the impossible dream became reality through one of the most transformative periods in human history. That same cycle saw the founding of the Red Cross in 1863, another impossible dream of caring for wounded soldiers, regardless of which side they fought on. It saw the Meiji Restoration in Japan, completely transforming an isolated feudal society into a modern nation. Everywhere you look during Neptune's journey through Aries, you see the pattern. Dreams become battles. Battles become reality. And now, 165 years later, we're standing at that threshold again. The question is, what are your impossible dreams? Because tomorrow, they're about to get their warrior spirit. And trust me, this isn't going to be gentle. Tomorrow at 12:40, the exact moment everything shifts. Here's what makes tomorrow so incredibly powerful. Neptune doesn't just enter Aries, it enters at 0 degrees Aries, what astrologers call the world axis, or the Aries point. This is the primordial starting line of the entire zodiac, the point of pure beginning. When a planet crosses this threshold, especially a planet as slow-moving as Neptune, it doesn't just affect your personal life. It affects global events. It makes the invisible visible. It takes dreams that have been floating in the collective unconscious and forces them into public awareness. Neptune typically operates in the shadows, through dreams, through intuition, through the subtle realms most people can't see. But at 0 degrees Aries, there's nowhere to hide. What's been brewing beneath the surface is about to erupt. Think about what you've been sensing lately. Maybe it's that growing feeling that the old systems, the ones we've all been told are too big to fail, are actually made of paper. Maybe it's that gnawing sense that you're meant for something bigger than what you're currently doing. Maybe it's dreams so vivid they feel more real than your waking life. That's Neptune already knocking at the door of Aries, and tomorrow, when it crosses that threshold, the door doesn't just open, it gets kicked down. But here's where it gets even more intense, because Neptune entering Aries isn't happening in isolation. Just hours later, something explosive occurs that acts as the detonator for this entire shift. The Mars-Pluto collision, when dreams become demands. On January 27th at 6 in the afternoon, Mars, the ruler of Aries, collides with Pluto at 3 degrees Aquarius. Let that sink in for a moment. The exact moment Neptune enters Aries and begins its 14-year journey, its ruling planet is undergoing a fusion with the most intense transformative force in the solar system. Mars is action, Mars is will, Mars is the ability to take what you want and make it happen. Pluto is atomic power, Pluto is death and rebirth. Pluto is the force that doesn't just change things, it obliterates the old to make way for the new. When these two come together, especially in Aquarius, the sign of revolution, of collective awakening, of the future, it creates an energy that's almost volcanic. This isn't just motivation. This isn't just inspiration. This is the kind of force that moves mountains. What this means for you is that the impossible dreams Neptune is bringing aren't going to stay as nice, comfortable fantasies. The Mars-Pluto conjunction is going to demand that you act on them. It's going to make staying in your comfort zone feel unbearable. It's going to push you, sometimes forcefully, toward the life you're actually meant to be living. And this is where we get to the heart of what tomorrow is really about, because Neptune in Aries isn't just one generic shift for everyone. It's activating 3 very specific, impossible dreams that are about to get their warrior spirit. And chances are, at least one of these is your dream. The first impossible dream, absolute sovereignty. For years now, maybe even decades, there's been this creeping feeling that true independence is impossible, that being completely self-sovereign, making your own choices, thinking your own thoughts, living entirely on your own terms, is just a fantasy. The world has been pushing us toward hive mind thinking. Social media algorithms tell us what to believe. Cancel culture punishes independent thought. The surveillance state tracks our every move. The financial system keeps us dependent. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the dream of true sovereignty has started to feel like something from a bygone era. But here's what's about to happen. Neptune entering Aries is the sign of the self, the individual, the I am. And when the planet of dreams enters this position, especially with Mars and Pluto backing it up, the impossible dream of absolute sovereignty becomes a battle cry. This isn't about gentle rebellion. This isn't about polite disagreement with the status quo. This is about a complete and total rupture from the collective consensus. You're going to see people suddenly, almost violently, claiming their right to exist on their own terms. Some will do this digitally, going dark on social media, creating sovereign digital enclaves, opting out of the algorithmic existence entirely. Others will do this professionally. The explosion of solo entrepreneurs who would rather bet everything on themselves than remain a cog in someone else's machine. And others will do this mentally, fighting for what's being called cognitive liberty, the right to think difficult, unpopular thoughts without being psychologically manipulated or controlled. And if you've been feeling this pull toward independence, toward cutting the cords that bind you to systems that don't serve you, this is your dream getting its warrior spirit. Tomorrow isn't just another day, it's the starting gun for your sovereignty campaign. But the intensity of this energy comes with a warning, because when you start claiming your sovereignty, the systems you're breaking away from don't just let you go quietly. There will be resistance, there will be pushback. That's where the warrior part comes in. Are you ready to fight for your right to be free? The second impossible dream, tangible utopia. We live in an age of cynicism. The prevailing belief is that idealism is naive, that the system is too entrenched to change, that anyone who talks about creating a better world is either deluded or trying to sell you something. The dream of a society built on higher principles, on justice, on compassion, on actual spiritual values, has been relegated to the realm of fantasy. That's nice in theory, people say, but it could never work in practice. But Neptune entering Aries doesn't accept impossible. Aries is the sign of the pioneer, the one who looks at a barren wasteland and sees a city, the one who looks at an entrenched system and sees kindling, the one who hears it can't be done and takes it as a personal challenge. What's about to happen is the emergence of what we might call the builder mystic. These are people who don't just dream about a better world, they're going to start constructing it, literally. We're going to see the launch of audacious projects that would have seemed insane just months ago, new types of intentional communities, alternative governance structures, decentralized systems that bypass the old power hierarchies entirely. Energy technologies that were suppressed are going to suddenly find funding and momentum. Ideas that have been floating in the ether are going to materialize. Remember, the last time Neptune was in Aries, the impossible dream of ending slavery became reality. The Red Cross was founded, an organization dedicated to treating all wounded soldiers with dignity, regardless of which side they fought for. These were structural changes to society that people said were economically impossible. And here's the part that should really get your attention. Just weeks after Neptune enters Aries, on February 20th, Saturn, the planet of structure and reality, conjoins with Neptune at 0 degrees Aries. This is the dream meeting the blueprint, the vision meeting the construction plans, the impossible becoming inevitable. If you've been carrying a vision of how the world could be, if you've got plans for projects, communities, or systems that seem too big, too ambitious, too idealistic, your dream is about to get its warrior spirit, and the energy of the next few months is going to give you the force you need to actually build it. But here's the shadow side. Neptune also dissolves, and when it hits Aries, the sign of action, it's going to dissolve structures that aren't real. Institutions that exist only on paper or through inertia are going to crumble fast. What looks stable right now might turn out to be nothing but a facade. The collapse of the old might happen faster than the building of the new. Are you prepared for that chaos? The third impossible dream, the sacred masculine. This is the dream that might hit the hardest because it's the most personal. For decades, maybe longer, we've been struggling with a broken relationship to masculine energy. We've polarized it into two extremes. Toxic masculinity on one side, passive nice guy energy on the other, strength without heart or heart without strength. The dream of a sacred masculine, protective but not dominating, powerful but not destructive, assertive but not aggressive, has felt completely out of reach. How do you reclaim the warrior archetype without becoming the very thing you're trying to heal? Neptune entering Aries is the answer to that impossible question, because Neptune dissolves what's toxic, and Aries is the masculine, the warrior, the fighter. When these two come together, what gets dissolved isn't the strength, it's the toxicity. What gets removed isn't the sword, it's the blind aggression. What emerges is something our culture desperately needs, the protector archetype, not the conqueror, not the dominator, the one who uses strength in service, the one who fights not to take, but to defend, the one who channels Mars energy through Neptune consciousness. This isn't just for men, by the way. This is about the masculine principle within all of us, that part of you that takes action, that sets boundaries, that says no when no is required. For too long, that part has been either overdeveloped into aggression or underdeveloped into passivity. Starting tomorrow, we're going to see a massive surge in practices that combine physical discipline with spiritual depth. Martial arts classes are going to fill up. Intense breathwork and somatic practices are going to explode. People are going to start treating their bodies as vessels for the divine, not obstacles to spirituality. Remember when I mentioned at the beginning that if you've been having recurring dreams or waking up with this urge to fight for something? This is why. Your inner warrior has been stirring. The sacred masculine within you, whether you're male, female, or anywhere in between, has been preparing for this activation. And tomorrow, when Neptune crosses into Aries with Mars and Pluto ready to detonate that energy, your impossible dream of being both strong and spiritual, both powerful and compassionate, both fierce and loving, that dream gets its warrior spirit. But the shadow here is real, because Neptune can also glamorize violence. There's a risk that people will mistake aggression for strength, fanaticism for faith. The true spiritual warrior uses the sword of Aries to cut through illusion, not to harm others. The battle is internal first, external second. Can you tell the difference? The 30-hour launch window, what you must do. Here's what most people don't understand about astrological transits this powerful. The energy doesn't just float around waiting for you to notice it. It's active, it's moving. And if you don't consciously work with it, it works on you in ways you might not want. From the moment Neptune enters Aries tomorrow at 12:38 until the Mars-Pluto conjunction completes on January 27th at 18:01, you have approximately 30 hours of peak activation. This is your launch window. This is when the impossible becomes possible, when dreams become marching orders, when the universe isn't just listening, it's demanding. During this window, you need to take one irreversible action toward your impossible dream, not a small step, not a maybe someday gesture, an action that commits you, an action that burns a bridge behind you so you can't retreat back into your comfort zone. Why does it have to be irreversible? Because Aries energy fades if not used. It's the spark that lights the fire, but if you don't feed that fire with fuel, it goes out. The Mars-Pluto conjunction locks your intention into reality through intensity. If you just think about your dream during this window, it evaporates. If you act on it, especially if that action scares you a little, the energy of this 165-year cycle gets behind you like a rocket booster. What does this look like practically? If your impossible dream is sovereignty, this might be the moment you quit the job that's been draining your soul. Or delete the social media accounts that have been manipulating your thoughts. Or invest in that business idea you've been planning for years. If your dream is tangible utopia, this might be when you buy the land for that community, or file the paperwork for that organization, or gather the people who've been waiting for someone to take the lead. If your dream is the sacred masculine, this might be when you sign up for that martial arts class, or book that intensive healing retreat. Or set that boundary you've been too afraid to set because you were worried about seeming aggressive. The point is, do something. Take action while the window is open, because after January 27th the energy shifts again, and what felt possible during these 30 hours might feel distant once more. The danger you need to know about. But I have to warn you about something. The shadow of this transit is real, and ignoring it could be catastrophic. The Mars-Pluto conjunction is volatile, it's nuclear, and when it combines with the Neptune ingress, the energy becomes almost combustible. This is not the time to engage in petty conflicts. This is not the time to pick fights with people who don't understand what you're going through. The energy you're carrying right now is too powerful for small battles. A minor disagreement could escalate into a permanent severance. A momentary frustration could explode into something you can't take back. Direct this energy toward obstacles, not people. Fight for your dream, not against your neighbor. Channel this warrior spirit toward building your vision, not destroying others' peace. And be aware that during this transition, you're going to see people around you acting strangely. Some will become suddenly aggressive. Others will make reckless decisions that make no sense. Still others will have breakdowns or breakthroughs that seem to come out of nowhere. That's the Neptune-Aries energy dissolving the false self. People's masks are coming off. Their carefully constructed personas are crumbling. And what's underneath, the raw, authentic core, is about to burst through whether they're ready or not. Hold your center, stay grounded. Remember that your battle is your battle. Their chaos doesn't have to become yours. What happens after the launch window closes? The eclipse may be over tomorrow, but its influence is only just beginning to unfold. When January 28th arrives and the intense activation window closes, don't expect everything to suddenly make sense. In fact, expect the opposite. Some people will wake up feeling lighter, like a weight they didn't even know they were carrying has lifted. Others will feel unsettled, almost disoriented, like they blinked and stepped into a slightly different version of reality. That's because you did. Neptune in Aries isn't just a transit, it's a timeline shift, and the choices you make during this launch window determine which timeline you land on. Pay attention in the weeks and months ahead to what starts falling away from your life. Old relationships that can't match your new frequency, jobs or situations that suddenly feel unbearable, habits and patterns that used to work but now feel like they're suffocating you. These aren't losses, these are course corrections. And pay equally close attention to what starts appearing. New opportunities that align with your impossible dream. People who seem to show up out of nowhere with exactly the resources or knowledge you need. Synchronicities that feel too perfect to be coincidence. The universe is rearranging the chessboard, and those who took action during the launch window, those who claimed their sovereignty, who started building their utopia, who activated their sacred warrior, they're being moved into position for something massive. Neptune will be in Aries until 2039. That's 13 years of this energy, but the foundation for those 13 years gets laid in the next 30 hours. The seed gets planted tomorrow. And whether that seed grows into the reality you're meant to live or withers from neglect depends entirely on what you do right now. The fire clears the fog. For the last 14 years, while Neptune has been in Pisces, we've been swimming in fog. Boundaries dissolved, truth became subjective, reality itself felt negotiable. We were living in an ocean of confusion, manipulation, and collective dreaming. Tomorrow, that ocean meets fire, and when water hits fire, it doesn't just disappear, it transforms into steam. It becomes a motive force, an engine, something that moves. The passive mysticism of the Pisces era is over. The comfort of the collective womb is closing. We're being born into something harder, sharper, more demanding. The age of the spiritual warrior has arrived. On January 26th at 12:40, the fog clears, the fire is lit, and the impossible dreams that have been floating in the ether for years, maybe lifetimes, finally get their marching orders. Your sovereignty, fight for it. Your vision, build it. Your sacred power, claim it. The 165-year cycle is complete. The new cycle begins tomorrow, and whether you realize it or not, you're already part of this story. The only question is, will you be a passive observer, or will you be one of the warriors who actually makes the impossible real? The universe isn't asking for your permission anymore, it's demanding your participation, and those who answer that call, those who step into their warrior spirit during this launch window, they're about to discover what it really means to live in alignment with destiny. Because when the sun rises on January 28th, the world won't be the same, and neither will you. The old version of you, the one who thought certain dreams were impossible, that version is about to burn away in the Aries fire. What rises from those ashes is something stronger, something clearer, something finally ready to fight for what it came here to do. Tomorrow, the spiritual warrior wakes up. Make sure you're ready. If you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for your attention. If you enjoyed the content and want to see more, please consider clicking the subscribe button. Your support is very appreciated. Feel free to share your experiences or thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, take care and subscribe for more insightful content.